Michael, you're right up there?
Largest earner.
Okay.
So he, and I pulled it up here just to show you, I'm on his team now to get free, everything's free, referral management, including round robin lead systems and no cost recruiting. So they go through everything all the way up to the point where the person needs to talk to an agent to convince them to come to KW, and then it comes to me. And then if I say, okay, and I put in my notes and I think they'd be a good fit, I put that in the notes and it goes back to their team. They contact them and I pick the market center. They send me the market center.
Yeah.
So I did one for California yesterday and they send me 3 market centers and then their sales. And then he says, you know, obviously pick the biggest one if it's close to them.
Right.
So I did. So then an automatic email came, said, hey, thanks for sending over this lead. As soon as Mike takes the appointment, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Mike took the appointment yesterday, so I'm just waiting to see if it goes into my downline now.
Interesting. Yeah.
I didn't know because it was such a coincidence. And I was on the phone with Brent yesterday. He just launched the program. So it's hard to set up. I don't have my laptop and I can try to get in while we're talking.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I have not done anything like that. Oh, I was just wondering where this
I think it's because he's so big now,
Mhm.
and he has another person that works for him, that it makes sense to me to do that because anybody I get now is going under his tree anyway.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
of course.
I don't have anybody under me, so maybe he went through and found the people that don't have any, and then offered this program. 'Cause
Yeah.
usually it's $69 a lead.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of it, right? I mean, if you do it right, you're able to bring people on, and if you kind of hype those people up to also make sure that they're going out, then it's all beneficial to you as well.
Yeah.
The furthest I've gone with that is back when Amy Phillips was still team leader. She was getting a high influx of leads from Indeed and maybe LinkedIn too. Most
Yeah,
of them
he
were
said he
Indeed.
runs ads on those platforms.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we can talk about today too with running those ads. I called hundreds of people. I was able to get a few people to join all across the country. I did find it to be rather time consuming because it sounds like he
He's
simplifies
doing
it.
everything now for
Right.
me. All I have to do is they have access to my calendar. They make the appointment for the call. So I blocked out like 10 to 12 on Monday and then 2 to 4. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do daytime. And then Tuesday and Thursday, I do like up to 8 o'clock.
Yeah, that's what I did. I split it up by days. So I was able to basically do it. I did Tuesdays and Thursdays from about, because we were all across the country. So I do the afternoon from like 1 to 3.
Right.
And that way I was calling people in the afternoon if they were like in California.
Yep.
I was able to get several people like that. They did join on. I found personally that the ones that I brought on, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 people. It turned out that those 3 or 4 people joined. They called me and said, hey, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to get any business. And I was like, do you have a coach? And they're like, no, there's no coach in my market center. And I'm like, okay, so who's directing you? Who's guiding you? Nobody, you know? And I was like, you know, and unfortunately, there's only so much that I can do.
Yeah.
Especially when, you know, one of these, it was like Oklahoma, maybe. There's another one, maybe Ohio. And that was the hardest part because I would be like, where do you currently reside? And they'd send me their address. I'd add them to the database, put their info in command. And then I go over to referrals and I just look up the closest market center to it. And sometimes the market centers are like an hour away. And so it was unfortunate because I feel like the Indeed ads that were being run by Amy at the time that she was sending me these leads on, a lot of them were in areas where there was no Keller Williams
Right.
office, or it was just really far out. And that made it difficult. So even though I was able to get a few people to sign on, including one person who signed on, and I remember just an unfortunate story, the coach, as she was signing them on, told her to put her name down as the sponsor,
Oh.
and she didn't understand the profit sharing system. And so after that, I made sure that when I made these calls, I did let people know this is how it works. This is what I'm going to ask you to do because it's going to
Yeah, I
benefit
did
me.
ask him to make sure
Correct.
that you put me as your sponsor.
Correct.
If it's okay with you, if you put me as your sponsor, and
If
know,
you,
I
I always
also
said, yeah,
explained that was a way for him to make money as well down the line.
yeah. So I always made sure to say, like, if you feel like I was the root cause of you considering Keller Williams as a brokerage of choice, then I'd like for you to put me down. A
Yeah.
lot of the leads I was getting were also not yet licensed. Most of them, I'd say like 95% of them were
Oh,
not yet.
I've got 16 people in my list right now. Some of them are almost ready, like they're in class, and then other ones haven't done classes yet. Like it says no license, and so they follow up. They keep on those people until they're ready for me to talk to,
Yeah.
which I was like, it can't be that simple.
And
He's
you
like,
know,
yeah, that's all you have to
that's
do.
it. It really is. It really is that simple. That's the beauty of it. Let me take a look here, see if anybody else. It looks like it's. I think nobody else is in the room right now. All right, so we'll just go ahead and get started. Jim, thanks for coming.
Hey,
How are you?
We have 2 people in the class. Yay.
That's it. I'm only a Sandwichburg, but I push Sandwichburg from going back.
Okay.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you came. And you know what? It'll be nice just with less people, because I think it gives us a good opportunity to talk just a little bit about individual profit share right now. So Barb, how many people do you currently have in your profit share?
None.
Okay, so you just started focus now.
She left.
Okay.
So now I'm hoping to get this guy. I don't know if you want to look at this now, but this gives me like my calendar. You have to set up your calendar. It's career consultants calendar setup. So I did that. So if I want to access my calendar, it goes pretty quick here. Oh, I have to log in again. I just logged in. I never did this on my phone.
Oh, I gotcha.
So let me try to get back to the beginning.
All right. Well, yeah, we can talk a
Anyway.
little bit more about that after. Let's just get into it. I mean, obviously, both of you have I would assume a pretty good sense of what profit share is and how it works. So we can go through it pretty quickly here. Let me just pull this up first. I had a video first and foremost. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there's a great video on KW Connect regarding this. So if you go to KW Connect, which I haven't been using at all for like the last 2 years, but there's tons of great information under the resources here regarding events, the industry, Keller Home Loans, K-score culture, and then of course profit sharing down here. So we can just start with this because this just goes over a short 1.5-minute video.
When you are a part of Keller Williams, you have the opportunity, no matter where you are in the world, to be rewarded for helping us grow through both the profit share and growth share system. Keller Williams treats real estate sales associates like stakeholders in the business. Associates can build a stake inside this real estate company that is as powerful as if they owned the company themselves. Geography does not dictate your tree, because both profit share and growth share are distributed across borders all over the world. And it doesn't matter where you practice real estate, it only matters where the person you sponsor practices real estate. For example, if you are named as a sponsor by someone from outside the United States and Canada, you are eligible to receive growth share. If you are named as a sponsor by someone in a profitable market sector within the United States or Canada, you are eligible to receive profit share.
I'm just going to ask you the
The path
difference.
to wealth building is the same in both systems. You relate and refer. This builds relationships anywhere in the world. For your prospect team leaders anywhere in the world. Once you are named as a sponsor, you can enjoy the rewards of either system. Your tree can grow to 7 levels. You will receive your money automatically every month for profit share and every quarter for growth share. You can will it to your beneficiaries, clause which you allow. The potential is exponential. This wealth building platform allows associates anywhere in the company to take on the mindset and the reward of ownership anywhere in the world where Keller Williams has a presence.
Cool. So, Jim, why don't you tell us, how has your experience with profit share been so far?
Minimal. Brought on, can I tell you names that you know, or?
Oh, yeah, sure, why not? Yes.
It's Donald Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Worked with Donald.
I did.
Longtime friend, and brought him in and felt pretty good about that. He hasn't been doing a whole lot. And then Sandra.
Domenico?
Yes.
Oh, she just texted me, actually. She's gonna be hopping on in a second, I think. Yeah.
So two special peeps, and she seems to be doing well.
Oh, yeah.
There was one other one that I brought on that, Orhan, you know.
I remember Orhan,
Yeah,
yep.
well, he came and left.
Yep.
You know, put his license, I don't even know if it's an escrow anymore. So those are my only three experiences, but I see quarterly and monthly checks.
Yeah.
You know, it's just sometimes if they do $1 million, then I see a couple $100.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have, yeah, that's, similar to my experience. It was very, obviously I knew Mark was gonna be joining in under me. So that's my big money maker, is just Mark, because it works nicely. It's, I'm able to refer him business, collect a referral fee, and help him, correct. And he also now has a lot of friends of his who are joining. I believe he brought Alex Marte on, I'm not sure, but that's a friend of his. Ran into him at the outlets. Alex was working at Polo at the time, and said, hey, I think you do real estate now. How are you liking that? And Mark was like, oh, I love it. And Alex went through, I think he went through K-Score, and he got his license. So I believe, I'd have to check my tree, but I believe he joined under Mark. So that was nice. And I think the primary goal is to find people that, of course, are, number one, you can assist and help. That was the biggest thing for me. With the leads coming from all around the country, that was the one thing that I thought was lacking, was that I really couldn't help them much besides connecting them with the team leader. And if that team leader or that coach in that marketing center drops the ball, then I was unfortunately, left empty-handed as well, despite all my efforts. So that's good. Let's just go ahead. We'll go through a couple of these, and then we can talk some more about a couple of different ways we can work on growing that. Mark, did you bring Alex Marte on?
I did, yeah.
You did. So yeah, so Alex would be in my tree. He'd be in my second level. I think that's the only person I have in my second level down. Yeah.
I'm trying to learn, how do you encourage them to learn more about
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about that, because I actually just had this conversation 2 days ago with an agent I'm currently working on a deal with. And there's a few talking points that I feel are valuable to bring up nowadays that aren't mentioned in any of the profit share scripts on KW Connect or anything like that, because it's all new information regarding the current state of the industry, I would say. So we'll get into that right there at the end. I have a couple of different slides about that. But obviously, Keller Williams Profit Share Program is one of the unique aspects of the company's business model. So it's designed to reward agents for helping the company grow by attracting and mentoring new talent. So that's the big key point, not only attracting, but mentoring the talent as well, which is, I would say, my focus when trying to bring somebody on. And I have people from high school who call me, text me, and say, hey, you're in real estate, I'd love to get started. K-Score is a huge part of that. As soon as they adopted K-Score into Keller Williams, I feel like it made the path to becoming an agent so much easier, and really just makes it a lot easier for you to be able to grow your tree as well. So allows you to earn passive income by participating in the growth of the company through profit sharing. I think just to put it out there, I think my best month right now, I think, was June. Because I think you ended up closing something for like 400,000 up in Cresco, something like that. Yeah, on March, exactly. So 2 months later, the profit share for that would hit, because it takes time for them to process and run their formula on that. And that was like my best month. I think it was like a $420, check, direct deposit, which I thought was fantastic. And it hovers, it jumps all over. It depends on how profitable our market center is for that month as well. So, even if Mark were to close $1 million worth of volume in a month, that profit share check might not be as high if our market center is not profitable. We're very lucky to be in a market center where things are being run very efficiently. with, you know, the finance committee and people like Amy Galligan heading a lot of that on, and our leadership working to basically keep our expenses low and be able to therefore put more money into the pockets of our agents. So that's a huge benefit, because ultimately some of these other market centers I did refer people to, they told me, yeah, I closed a deal last month. Yeah, I closed a deal this month. I closed a deal next month too. And I never got a check. And come to find out, I called the team leader and they're like, oh yeah, we're not profitable. You know, we're a newer office. We've only been around for a year. We're still operating in the red. So that's the downside of that. So introducer model, when an agent joins Keller Williams, they have an opportunity to name a person who they feel introduced into the company and were essential for bringing them in. So that person becomes the sponsor. Sponsor is then eligible to receive a portion of the profits the company makes based on the productivity of the new agent they brought in. So when, you know, on the ALC, for example, one of the big focuses that we have is bringing in recruits who are from other companies who are already doing business. They might be doing a decent amount of business, but sometimes you can just feel from the transaction you have with them, the way they handle things, the way they run their business, that it's very likely they can end up doing more should they just be with a brokerage that might be able to better support them. No risk to agents, so that's another huge part of this. Profit share does not reduce commission or income of the agent doing the work. This is something that comes up a lot when I do career info sessions, because we talk about passive income opportunities for the agents that are interested in becoming, for the, you know, people interested in becoming agents, we talk about passive income. So I'll always mention title shares, insurance shares, opportunities for ownership in the market center via different investment opportunities. I do also, you know, drop syndications as well, because that's obviously a huge value add as well that other brokerages are not offering their agents. Or if they are, they're keeping it very minimal to who they open that to. And so the last thing, of course, I mentioned is profit share. The program is based purely on the profitability of the individual Keller Williams Market Center. So when I bring this up to these newer agents or people interested in becoming agents, and one of the first things they say is like, oh, so, you know, you're taking a portion of my commission. It's like, no, that's not how this works. You have to pay into the company every month. And when you're capped and you're not paying into the company, you've already paid into the front end of your year. So you've paid your dues, quote unquote, to the company to become capped. So none of the income that I'm collecting in the form of profit share is coming directly out of your pocket. It's coming to the company, and the company, after paying their expenses and their fees, are able then to redistribute that profit to the agents who help the company grow. So it is a 7-level structure, operates on a 7-level system, meaning the agent can benefit not only from the people they bring in, but also the agents sponsor up to 7 levels deep. So there's a formula for this, and you've got the percentages that go down through the 7 levels. The lower you get, the lower the percentage of the profit share that you get to collect from the agent, until the 7th level, where it jumps back up again. Monthly payments. So profit share is calculated monthly based on the market center's profitability. If a market center is profitable in a given month, a portion of the profit is then distributed to the agents who are eligible according to this 7-level structure. So it isn't based on total revenue, but rather profit. Like I said, expenses, splits, commissions, a portion of the remaining profit would then go and be shared with the rest of the agents in the company. And once an agent names their sponsor, the sponsor starts benefiting from profit share. There is no ongoing requirement to keep bringing in agents or maintaining production levels. So just like you had said, Barb, that agent you mentioned there from Texas, California. So if there's people in the company who are able to invest so much of their time and energy into growing profit share that they're able to, quite honestly, step away from real estate, make that their focus. That was something that I talked with Amy Phillips a lot. It was just like, okay, well, if this is how this works, then there is absolutely the possibility of growing this profit share so large that every month you're collecting enough income passively to quite literally step away from real estate and make more money in profit share than you would in real estate. However, your income at that point would be dependent on 2 things: the productivity of the agents you brought on and the actual profitability of the market centers in which they're operating.
Yeah.
Correct. So you still got to make sure that all of that is covered as well. So legacy wealth creation. This was like a big talking point when I had signed on with Cassie, when I sat down with her for the first time. Profit share is willable. which means that an agent can pass down the income stream to their heirs, creating long-term financial security. Heirs can continue to receive profit share as long as they follow certain guidelines set out by Keller Williams. And it is capped by the market center's profitability. The payouts are directly tied to the profitability of the market center. The market center doesn't make profit in a given month. There is no profit share distributed. So it's not like, somebody's getting profit share and another person isn't. Either everybody got a little bit if the agents in their downline were productive, or nobody got anything if the market center was financially unprofitable.
So how does that work?
So yes, when you signed your profit share agreement, there's actually a line on there that names a beneficiary. So when I signed on, so when I signed on, I added Mark on there, which wouldn't really do anything at this point anymore, because quite honestly, it was just dropped to him and he's my most productive agent. So it doesn't do much. But if I brought anybody else on, then those people would go directly under Mark's profit share tree from there on out. However, it's willable to anybody. So you can will it to somebody in your family. You can will it to, they do not have to be a real estate agent. Correct.
Fees? Monthly or annual fees? Things like
I don't believe so. No, because there's guidelines that are set out. I don't remember exactly what those guidelines are. They have to pay. Yeah, they would get a. No, because you can will it to somebody who's not an agent. Yeah, so that's a huge benefit of it as well. So overall, what impact does this have? Well, if you think about it, you've got the incentive for recruitment and retention. Not only is it about recruiting, but of course it's also about retaining the agents that you have recruited. So agents are incentivized to help the company grow by recruiting talented individuals who in turn can benefit their own income passively. It also builds community and mentorship. So when I had started this out, it was very much, for me, I was like, I'm just going to bring people on. That's my focus. And I was getting leads from all around the country. And I thought that'd be a great way to build this out and create passive income. I quickly found out that a lot of the work I did was all for nothing, because unfortunately, without being around, without being a solid resource, I had agents in Ohio or one was in Kansas, I remember, calls me on a question on her transaction for a contract. And I'm like, I wish I could help you, but I have no idea. You need to call an agent in your office. And I gave them the information for the ALC and told them to reach out to their team leader, ALC, or their broker. So if we're approaching it from this mentorship perspective, I think you'll see significant benefits if you focus on bringing agents into our market center in particular, because we are a profitable market center and because you can be here to assist them. And that'll help with long-term retention and foster this culture of mentorship and collaboration, because they'll see what you're doing for them. It becomes very natural because all of a sudden you're helping them out. They're starting to see success, and just how you brought them on, now they're getting excited because people on their network are seeing they're in real estate, and now they're interested in joining and finding out how they can do it. And oftentimes the people in that network will be local, so you can still serve as a mentor to somebody who's in your second or even third level of your downline. So since its inception in 1986, the program has paid out billions of dollars to Keller Williams Associates, making it a very highly attractive component of the Keller Williams value proposition. So what does that mean? That's a great start for a lot of the conversations that we have. When we have conversations with agents who are from other markets and other brokerages, and we're having a conversation because we're in the middle of a transaction together. As an example, this is one that came up for me just 2 days ago. I'm working on a deal in Bethlehem, and this agent has been absolutely bending over backwards to make this deal work. Every time we get on the phone, I find she is very chatty, very excitable. Quite honestly, it doesn't take much effort for me to find out what her plans are and what her goals are, because she's so vocal about them. And she had mentioned, like, I want to be more like you with the listings. I feel like, listings are where it's at. Now that I've been in this for a while, I'm realizing that running around as a buyer's agent all the time is not as productive or profitable for me as simply working to get listings. So I've come to the conclusion that's what I'm going to do. And very, just nonchalantly, I was just like, isn't that something that you were taught when you came in, you know? And she was like, no, not at all. So right there opens up the door for me to say, okay, well, we have this triangle, right, at Keller Williams, and we call it the lead listings leverage triangle. You focus on these 3 points in your business and you're able to grow significantly. You're focusing on leads and leads are coming in. You're focusing on listings. Listings create more leads. And once you have so many leads and so many listings creating more leads, then the next step would be for you to leverage that out. And you can utilize a transaction coordinator and you can utilize a VA, for example, to help benefit you moving forward so that you can actually continue to grow that business out. And right there, she just kind of stopped and was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So is that why you have a VA? Is that why I'm talking to your transaction coordinator instead of you? And I was like, yeah, this was all taught to me like week 1 of getting my license, that that's the ultimate goal, that that's what we're working towards. And she was surprised because she hadn't heard that before. And that conversation began to transition away from talking about leads, listings, and leverage and into talking about, oh, yeah, you know, my goal now for next year in 2025 is going to be to create enough income from my real estate business so that I can then invest that money. Because I feel like I'm lagging behind and I haven't had a chance to make any lucrative investments with the money that I've been making. I've really just been spending everything on my business and everything else on myself without saving much in between other than saving cash. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I was like, Keller Williams offers tons of opportunities for investment into affiliates such as our title company and our insurance company. And she was like, oh, yeah, you know, my office does that too. But, you know, I don't know if it's necessarily the most beneficial just because my relationship with that title company is meh. They don't really invest a lot of time and energy into me. They don't really connect with me. And quite honestly, I use whatever title company my buyer wants to use anyway. And I was like, okay, interesting. So Keller Williams offers, number one, they offer that. And 2, then I mentioned the mortgage opportunity because I told her, she was like, can we close Friday at 11 a.m.? I was like, sorry, I can't. I'm actually going to be taking my mortgage license exam. And she was like, oh, so now you're going to be a lender too. She was like, why would you do that? I was like, oh, well, Keller Williams opened up an opportunity for us to be able to get our mortgage license. And as a result, be able to write the start the loan process for any buyer leads that we bring in. Those buyers don't even have to close with us, meaning that I can pre-approve a buyer via Marty with Homefront, and then I can send it to Mark. Mark can close the deal, and I'm collecting a commission because I now have my referral license with the mortgage company on a loan that I never did anything else for other than collect their information and start the mortgage process. And she was shocked. And that was like the moment right then and there. She was like, I feel like I'm missing out. She was like, I feel like other companies are doing so much more. And I was like, no, not other companies. Keller Williams is doing so much more for their agents. And at that point, I always stop because I don't want to get into the details and the conversations. I always want to then allow for the team leader to handle it from there on out. So all I said is, we have an office in Bethlehem. You're in Bethlehem. I mean, she's in Easton. She's actually on my street. Why don't you take a moment, schedule a meeting for an hour with the team leader of the Bethlehem office, sit down and just have a conversation, tell her exactly what it is that you're telling me about your goals, and perhaps they can see whether or not, you know, your goals would align with what the company is trying to do for their agents. And she got very excited, handed the number over to the team leader, and she's going to be giving her a call from there on out to handle it, to get her to join the company. I find that coming from contribution, which we say all the time, coming from contribution is the best way to actually grow the profit share tree, because it becomes very natural and not forceful if you simply guide the conversations like the bold law. People grow into the conversations you create around them. 100% true. And I find myself now more than ever, which is why I got inspired to teach this class, since August, finding myself having much more conversation around the industry and what's happening. And so that's why I really wanted to teach this class, not really just to go over the details of what profit share is, but basically touch on the things that I find beneficial to have conversations about now that we've seen so many changes in the real estate industry. Because early on in August, September, every buyer's agent I talked with when they called me mentioned the lawsuit. Every one of them mentioned the settlement. They had no clue how it works, no clue what's going to happen to them. zero guidance from their brokers, zero guidance from anybody within their offices, allowing them to kind of ease their minds and help them understand what needs to be done to get through this. And that's where the door opened for me for a lot of conversations. A lot of these people have not yet even scheduled meetings with the team leader to have a conversation about switching over, but they are now on a list in my command database to continue following up with, especially now as we enter into a new year, because this would be the greatest time for somebody to make that change, start fresh, and hit the ground running in 2025. So some of the key points that I see coming up right now that I'm having conversations around, first and foremost, are the settlement. And they tell me, oh, since the settlement, we're concerned about buyer agency commissions. They were like, I've had many agents who say, this one in particular said that, actually, the one who I just told the story about, had said to me, if I had been an agent in 2018, 2019, 2020, before this lawsuit had happened, I feel like it never would have happened if everybody simply acted in the way that I do and represented their buyers to the best of their ability and properly explained everything. And I said, you're probably right. But the other thing is that Pennsylvania has always been like this. We always required a buyer agency contract. I'm sure a lot of people got lazy and showed homes without one, myself included. Probably about a year and a half into being in real estate, somebody called, I want to see this house. Can we go look at it? Sure, we'll go look at that. Showed them 1-2 houses without a buyer agency and then had the conversation. And now that I've shown them a house, now I'm having the conversation and they run off without signing a document. So that's when I implemented a better script for managing that and being able to tell people, since August, since there was a settlement, this is what happens, this is what you can expect. And before we go look at any houses, we need to have this document signed, and I have it signed for 1 day. So those are the conversations I see coming up a lot. And the easiest way in which to bring that up oftentimes is when somebody sends me a contract on a listing and it has mistakes on it. And when they send me a contract, for example, and they write 3% for additional buyer agency commission on the second page of the agreement of sale, I always call and confirm, hey, seller is already offering 3%. I sent you the CBC. Is your client requesting that we pay you an additional 3% on top of the 3% that my seller's already agreeing to pay you? Oh, no. I'm just putting that there to make it clear that I'm being paid 3%. Oh, awesome. Education opportunity. That's not how that works. You don't have to put that on there. You read that carefully, you'll see that that says that you need to pay an extra 3% in addition to whatever has already been negotiated, which we've already negotiated. And at that point, it already starts that process of being able to have a conversation about, oh, okay, looking through the rest of the contract, you got a mistake here, here, here. I never tell them they're mistakes. I just say, in order to accept this offer, can you please make corrections to these items? And I always explain to them over the phone why I'm asking for those corrections. And the commission one seems to be the biggest because that's the one that I see people making mistakes on the most often. Obviously, if they put 0.5 in there, then I usually assume that they're just trying to negotiate the extra 0.5% into the offer. But if they put 3, they probably misunderstood what that paragraph there means. Opens the door for me to have a conversation about their business, opens the door to have a conversation about what kind of training is being offered for them to help them understand the changes that came down the pike with the settlement as a result of the settlement. And from there on out, it's hard to even explain because it really just flows naturally. It just ends up happening where they're having a conversation and they'll be the ones to tell me, oh, we didn't have any conversations about it. Nobody taught me classes about this. Nobody said anything about it. And that's when I bring up contracts mastery. That's when I say, oh, well, on our weekly broker call, we don't have a weekly broker call. I was like, oh yeah, we do that here at KW to work through issues like this, especially with the changes. It's been so important for us to be able to dedicate the extra time to learning how to manage the changes and learning how to properly fill out contracts with the settlement changes and the new agreement of sale. For that first month and a half, 2 months even, I was getting contracts that were outdated. They weren't even the updated contracts. Once again, that opened up a good door for me to have that conversation then as well. So KW is really strict about the scripts that they want you to use in order to bring up the idea of profit share and the idea of recruiting and I have those here. These are the ones that they have, right? I think they're very basic, and unless you already have a pre-established relationship, it's difficult to be successful with this one. So that's why I'm spending so much time talking about the changes and the results of the settlement and the new landscape, because I think those are the good talking points to open up to then get down into this. When I first started before the settlement, this is really what I focused on. And I really kept it very tight, and I didn't dive into any of the details because I wanted Amy at the time to be the one to handle things from there on out. So for this first call script, very simple, straight to the point. Hi, agent. This is Michael. I love doing transactions with you. You are awesome. I was just telling my team leader about you the other day and told her how great you are. He or she will be calling you to thank you for the way you do business. Will you promise me you will take his or her call? Right? Simple, straight to the point, and allows you to take the responsibility of explaining all the benefits of Keller Williams and opening up that conversation of switching brokerages, gives it over to the team leader to handle, because they go through training for this. They go through script calls every week to understand how to maneuver a conversation, to have people open up about their pain and what their goals are for the future, so that we can have that conversation about making a switch potentially. So it's very tight, it's very simple, but yet it's very, very effective. What not to do, I would say, would be bringing up the conversation about switching brokerages. You know, I like to direct the conversation around, hey, this is what we offer. Yeah, we have contracts classes every couple of weeks. Yeah, we have broker hour calls every week. You guys don't have that? No, we don't have that. Oh, well, I find it's extremely beneficial. Actually, what we're talking about now is something I learned on the broker call because another agent who's been in the business 20 years asked this question. And as a result, I learned something new, which I can now tell you about. That's already usually enough to open the door. I'm not going to ask them, are you interested in switching your brokerage? Are you interested in exploring other options for where you want to have your home base for your business? I leave that conversation to the team leader. With the agent I was working with earlier this week that I connected her with the team leader, she was very open. The conversation was very free flowing. And she herself basically said, I feel like I'm missing out on other opportunities. Maybe it's time for me to consider switching brokerages. Well, if they do that, then it's pretty good for you to mention, oh, well, you should definitely consider Keller Williams. Most other times, the things you are going to most often hear are, well, I'm really happy where I'm at. She said that too. As soon as she said she's considering switching, she did follow it up with, yeah, but the thing is, I'm like really happy where I'm at and I really love the people I work with. So, it's tough to make that kind of decision. And I understand that completely, which is why I do my best to avoid that conversation by sticking to something short and sweet like this, right? And we'll talk in a second about ways you can implement that into your procedures. For call script 2, this one's also solid. I've read this one word for word, especially when I first started. Hi, agent name. This is Michael Wlodarczyk. It was so much fun doing that transaction with you. I really like the way you handled, mention an aspect of the transaction you admired. Agent name, can we meet for coffee next Tuesday? I just want to get to know you and learn more about how you became such a knowledgeable agent. How does Tuesday at 10 a.m. work? So call script 2 focuses on actually setting an appointment for you to then have the conversations that I've been having mostly on the phone about the benefits, what it's done for me, what it could potentially do for them. I try to not focus on what it might do for them because I don't know their life. I don't know their goals. I just want them to know what I've done. And a lot of my work and the way that I run my business basically speaks for itself. I get compliments all the time, especially now with the CBC, for example. As soon as a showing is requested and confirmed, I send out the CBC and the link to the Keller Williams Pocono website where it shows you all the CBCs and the compensation being offered for any one of our listings in-house. I find so many people say, that's such a great idea. Well, cool, I'm happy you like that. Does your brokerage have one? Can you send me one for your listings? Oh, no, we don't have anything like that. Oh, okay, that's it. And I leave it at that. The seed's been planted. They're already thinking, why does my brokerage not offer that? Why do we not have that kind of system to help manage and track the commission being offered on our in-house listings? For transactions that could be a little difficult, which the one from my example with this agent in Bethlehem has been, I focus all my energy on positive reinforcement. And people like when you tell them they did a great job. They could be in the business for the last 20 years, but if they handled something professionally, they took care of a problem, they really solved it, they're going to love hearing that. Right now, Mark and I are working on a transaction in Winona Lakes. We were supposed to close today at 3:30. We're not going to be closing because yesterday morning we got an email from the listing agent saying that the ceiling leaked because a pipe burst in the upstairs bathroom and destroyed the ceiling in the kitchen. Obviously, a tense situation. Obviously, everyone is disappointed. And now we've all got to really hit the ground running to come up with a solution quickly. My first instinct was to try and take on everything myself and solve the problem myself. Great. I'll find the plumber. I'll send them over, have your seller meet them there so they can take a look at it. I called 4 plumbers. Nobody was available that day. Called the agent, told him, hey, I can't find anybody. Do you have anybody that might be able to get out there? Let me call around. I'll see what I can do. All right. That's all they said. They went ahead. They called the plumber. They called me back. I have somebody coming out there. I'm going to meet them there and we're going to get this taken care of. Awesome. Already love to hear that. They took initiative. I feel much better. I feel much more confident that the problem is going to get resolved quicker. We have the buyer. Yeah. And usually in those cases, you know, it comes on to the seller to say, hey, a pipe burst in your house. You got to fix this. It's a unique situation. The seller's funds are very tight. And so my mindset was set on, I know the seller's situation. I know it's a tight situation. I'm going to try to be the hero and save this. And that was the wrong thing to do. I should have right off the bat called them up and said, hey, this is on you guys. You guys got to figure something out. This is your client. This is your listing, and it's your problem. Take care of it. So after a few hours of trying to solve it myself and hitting a wall over and over, he calls me back and says, I'm going to take care of it. This script would be perfect for that. As soon as this transaction closes, this is exactly what I'm going to call and tell him. Because I'm going to call him and let him know, I really like the way you handled taking care of the plumbing leak the day before closing. Everybody was stressed. My clients were stressed out. I was stressed out. The lender, the title agent are all stressed out. Everybody was like super confident this was closing tomorrow. And yet you took the initiative. You really kind of stepped up to the occasion to assist us with this. And for that, I'm really grateful. I just want to let you know, I told my team leader about you because you were such a huge help. They're going to be giving you a call just to thank you for assisting us through this and taking such good care of the problem so that our clients were satisfied. Are you going to take that phone call when they call? That's it. And I let team leader take it from there. The procedure for that for me is to simply let Karen know, hey, you're going to be getting a phone call. I mean, I'd like you to give a phone call to this agent. This is what just happened. Can you please mention to them that you really appreciate them going so far, going the extra mile to solve this problem when time was really of the essence. So this is a fantastic one to also stick to because it focuses on positive reinforcement and allows you to open up things really positively right off the bat without necessarily having to be the one to get into the details of, oh, have you been thinking of making a switch? Because Karen's the one that can handle that. Karen's going to be the one who opens up that conversation and starts to build and foster a long-term relationship. And this is an agent that does do a lot of business. So it'd be awesome to see them come by here. Because it seems like right now where they're at, I can't even tell you what brokerage they're with because it's like such an unmemorable name. I have no idea who they're even working with. And then call script 3 down here. Hi, agent name. This is Michael Vudarchik. It was so much fun talking with you at that seminar, seeing you at the conference, running into you at that open house. So this is after you've met somebody. Perhaps it's an agent you're not doing business with currently or haven't done business with in the past yet. Can we meet for coffee next Tuesday? I'd just like to get to know you and talk shop. Is that okay? How does Tuesday at 10 a.m. sound? Scheduling appointments with agents from another brokerage is not something I have ever done. I find that maybe it's limiting belief of my own. I find that that's a pretty difficult way to approach opening up this conversation because when agents call me to do that, I know exactly where it's going and I shut it down immediately. So unless you already have some sort of established relationship with that agent, I'd say that this likely is not going to be the way to handle it. That's just my opinion though. If you've got a fantastic relationship with this agent, or maybe you have done business with them in the past, gratitude is huge, right? And that brings me to my next point. How do we maintain top of mind? Because a lot of this is not going to be something you can take care of very quickly. You are not going to make one phone call to an agent you close a transaction with and tell them how amazing they were, and they're going to sign and join Keller Williams the week later. It's just very unlikely. If it happens, you got very lucky. So having systems in place to be able to manage the agents you're working with and staying top of mind with them is huge. So Christmas cards, all right, holiday cards, end of the year cards, whatever. I send all the agents I work with that I had a good relationship with and had a good transaction with a card. Just a thank you card, letting them know I appreciated their time, I appreciated their business on some very difficult transactions where I felt that the agent really stepped up and did a great job. $10 gift card to Dunkin' Donuts, coffee and donuts on me. Thank you again so much for all your help in the transaction we had together earlier this year. How do I manage that? I have a spreadsheet with every transaction I closed. Every time I close it, I put the address, my client's name, how I found that lead, and then I put the agent that I worked with on that transaction as well. So then at the end of the year, I'm able to go through and thank everybody. Thanksgiving is next week. Another great opportunity. Even a simple text is great. I have everything already rewritten. I have my text already pre-written, so I can just copy and paste it to every agent. Hi, agent. Wanted to reach out to you because Thanksgiving is this week and let you know just how grateful I am that we had the opportunity to work together. I know our transaction had some hiccups, roadblocks, bumps, whatever you want to say, but you really rose to the occasion and took care of it in a great way, and I really appreciate that. Nobody ever texts me that. Nobody. I never get a text like that from any agents I work with outside of Keller Williams. I never get a thank you card. One time I got a gift card to Dunkin' Donuts for $5 from an agent where we had a transaction. I had the buyer, she had the seller, and the septic failed. It was just terrible. It was so, everybody was so stressed out. It's the day of closing and we're getting the septic retested an hour before we're supposed to be at the table. We got it done. We got it closed. I just wanted to push it out of my mind and forget about it. And a week later, I come to my mailbox and there's a thank you card in there letting me know. Yeah. And and that's what inspired me to start doing it, because it made me, I went and I ordered thank you cards on Amazon. You can get a box of like 50 of those small little thank you cards, just big enough to, pop a gift card into and write a quick little note in, just quick gratitude card. You can systematize this to do it right after you close. So just how we take a copy of the HUD, we take a copy of the check, we upload everything into Command, add in there, write out a card. Thank you so much for working with me on this transaction. I know we had some hiccups, but you really rose to the occasion, and I'm glad we had a chance to do it. Let's do it again sometime soon. You want to add a gift card? Coffee's on me. Dunkin' gift card, send it out. Put it right in the envelope. You can do that right at the end of the year. You can send them out all at once. You can drop it off as soon as you close. However you want to go about it, that's up to you. I find that's a great way to at least start the conversation and maintain top of mind. Now, they might not be ready for that conversation. They might not be ready to talk about switching brokerages. I started doing that late last year. I did it for a couple different agents throughout the year. This year, some of them didn't even reach out to say thank you. So I never even knew if they got it or not. But it opens up the door for me to be able to reach out later on in the year. Hey, now I sent them a card. Maybe they got a gift card, thanking them for all their hard work. And now I'm giving them a call around Thanksgiving or shooting them a text saying, thank you again. Really grateful we had a chance to work together. Hopefully we get to do it again soon. It's all about relationship building. So I went from focusing on a lot of those Indeed leads and a lot of the newer agents, and focusing more so on fostering the relationships with agents who are actually in production, who are actually working with me. You can take this a step further. You're scrolling through the hot sheet in the morning and you see a name you recognize for a transaction you work together. A simple, hey, nice new listing, just saw that. If I have anybody, I'll definitely keep you in mind and hopefully get to show this so we can work together again. Like things like that are already a cut above the rest from anything anyone else ever does. So when I scroll through the hot sheet in the morning, sometimes I see an agent put up a really nice listing. I don't have any buyers for it. I'm not planning on showing it. If I do, that'd be great, but it's not in my plans. But it is a nice listing. They deserve a pat on the back, and it fosters that relationship and shows them what Keller Williams is all about. It's that culture of not competitiveness against one another, but support for everybody around us, whether they're KW or not. So that's been the way I like to do it. Is anybody doing anything like that in terms of gratitude or calls or?
I'm not resistant. My question to us is, have you guys been in receipt of our Lincoln card?
Ah.
Just compliments our accomplishments and volume and wanting to meet for lunch?
Yeah, I got one from Yarrow this week.
You're not,
I haven't worked with her.
I have, and I'm just wondering, I don't know how to get into Flex to see what other people's volume are.
Okay,
You know, she's telling me what my volume is.
so
Using Zillow or something like that.
she could be using Zillow. That's what I do. Usually as soon as I go under contract with an agent, I will go on Zillow just to see what their past sales is looking like, to kind of gauge what my experience during the transaction might be. Not to say an agent who's only done 1 or 2 deals in the last 24 months is going to be a bad transaction, but at least sets me up to maybe double check to ensure they ordered the resale, you know, maybe double check to ensure they ordered the certificate of occupancy in Middle Smithfield Township, because they've only done 2 deals and neither one of them was in Middle Smithfield Township. I did receive that from Yarrow. I did get that card, and although I don't plan on taking that meeting, I am going to reach out and just thank her for it, and that's the basis of it. You know, as a broker owner, that's a
My
Good advice.
response is what you said earlier, is we're happy where we're at.
Yeah.
I'm happy where I'm at.
Oh, is it recruiting thing?
oh yeah.
I know that this is, you know, every year.
Yep.
She's, I mean, I've seen her, I've done deals with her, and, you know, I don't have a cozy connection with her, but I'm content where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly. And that's usually what people will say. You know, if you bring up this conversation of opening up to setting a meeting or an appointment with one another, that's why I don't necessarily like script 2 and 3, because I feel like it's already pressure. They're already jumping to conclusions before you even get a chance to think, you know, talk about it or anything. I like to talk about myself. I like to talk about what I'm doing and what KW has been doing for me. I just subtly drop things without even really realizing I'm doing it. It's just like, hey, this morning on my broker hour call, I mentioned the situation we have in our transaction and got great advice from my broker, my assistant broker, and a few agents who've been in the business for 20 years. And that's already enough for them to be like, you're doing masterminds every week with top agents who've been doing this for 20 years and getting advice on how to solve problems in our transaction. Like, I don't have to even say it. It's completely unsaid. If they're business oriented, growth oriented, which is somebody that you're going to want in your profit share tree, they're going to start thinking about it. And from there on out, it's just staying top of mind. Whether it's a card like Yarrow sends, I like to do the holiday cards, like to send out a Thanksgiving text, just thanking them for their efforts. These are all solid ways to go about it. That's good for agents who are in production. Obviously, we've also got career info sessions for agents who are interested in getting into the business, but don't have their license yet. And that sort of brings me to the last thing I wanted to talk about, which was K-Score. I don't do the registrations for K-Score, Lisa Gilmore does. So right here and there, like, that's already almost no effort required to get that process started. I connect them with Lisa Gilmore because they called me and said they're interested in getting into real estate. Awesome. Do you have your license? No. Are you taking classes? No, not yet. I'm not sure where to start. Awesome. I'm so glad that you reached out to me first, because Keller Williams offers free training and schooling to get your real estate license. I can get you set up for that. You just got to come to one career info session, and after that, we can get you registered and started to study for your test. K-Score being implemented within Keller Williams has been a major step. I wouldn't say you're going to want to make it your primary focus for generating possible leads for your profit share tree, just because it's going to take those agents a little while to get their businesses up and running. A lot of the people that I have signed up for K-Score or connected to Lisa to get started on K-Score never finish. That's also my fault, because there are a few names that came to mind, conversations I had that just either reminded me of me when I first started, showed that they had some kind of passion or drive to be successful in real estate. Their names stuck out. I didn't even have to write them down. I would just scroll through my phone, see their name, and be like, oh, let me check in with them. Quick call, how are you doing? Just took my test last week, failed, so I'm going to study for another 2-3 weeks. I'm going to take it again. Great. calendar reminder, 3 weeks from now, follow up again. I haven't done that for everybody. I think if you do that consistently for everybody, and like with anything, work to create this procedure for it, you'll be significantly more successful in converting those leads into actual recruits to join. So really there's two focuses. It's agents you're currently in production with and doing business with, and then you've got agents who haven't yet gotten licensed, people who are interested in becoming agents, and K-Score is there to support you in that. Lisa Gilmore is going to be your contact. You're going to want to connect them to Lisa. I like to do it via email, and I always use the same subject line. So if I ever want to look at all the leads that I've recruited to get started with K-Score, all I have to do is look up the subject and Lisa's email, and I see every person that I connected to starting K-Score. That way I can ask Lisa for updates, or I can reach out to the prospect individually to see how they're doing. I have never looked into the MLS to see what other people are doing in volume and tried to convert them that way. I think that's a very cold way to try and convert a lead into a potential recruit. I'm sure you can become successful at it. It's just not something I've ever invested any energy in. I'm pretty sure there is, and I'm pretty sure there's an entire roster for everything. There's got to be a way for you to look that up. I can find out how to do that and send you both an email. Yeah, I'm going to look into it because I'd like to know myself. I personally just reach out to Karen, and Karen tells me what they're doing because she has it in Broker Metrics. Yeah, so she can quickly pull up their name.
Oh, maybe she has access. Yeah, Zillow list.
Yeah, I usually look at Zillow, but actually Yarrow is a broker, so she's probably using Broker Metrics, and she can pull it up there. But Karen has access to that, so if there's somebody that you're interested in looking into, you're doing a transaction with them, you might be able to just ask Karen, hey, would it be possible for you to send me the numbers for this agent? And that way you can start off with a compliment. Hey, congratulations, year to date, I saw you've done over $5 million in volume. That's really impressive for somebody that's only been in the business 3 years. What are your plans for 2025? Get another script you can utilize. I like to start things off that way just because I know how it makes me feel when people tell me that, when people reach out to me and say, hey, congrats, I saw you had a great year this year. You're really killing it. So excited to be working with you on this transaction. Let's get it to the closing table. As soon as we start a transaction together or right after we finish, it feels good. It feels nice. I have no plans on going anywhere. So, but once again, that doesn't happen often. Like Yarrow's card to me that I received like 2 days ago, that's like the first time that that's happened in probably a year or two. I've had some other people, I think Keith Taragosa maybe sent me one a few years back from Remax. He sent me a card just saying, there you go. Yeah, Keith, his brokerage does send out like a pre-printed letter saying that the brokerage appreciates working with us on this transaction, that we're glad we brought it to a successful close. Comes down to systemization. Figure out a process, just spend, I would say, dedicate just 1 hour to thinking about how you're going to do it, streamline it so that it's easy for you and not something that's overwhelming. Something that can be easily added to your listing or buyer loop so that you know to reach out to that agent you're working with just to maintain that relationship. And I like to just set up a calendar event a few months out, and all I do, if that calendar event pops up, it's a 30-minute time slot. I look up the agent, I look at their active listings, and now I have like 3 different ways to contact them. I can tell them congrats on your volume. If their volume's not that great, I can say congrats on that new listing you put up last week. It looks great. If I have anybody, I'll definitely reach out and let you know. By the way, how are you doing? How is business? And that's why I really wanted to teach this class now, is because so much has changed. People are complaining about the market. People are complaining that sales are down, that interest rates are high, that nobody wants to buy, sellers don't want to sell. We got to help people understand that that mindset's not going to get them where they want to go. And focusing the conversation on their goals and what they're trying to achieve opens up the door to introducing them to our team leader and getting that process started.
This was the best month nationally in 3 years for the housing.
Yep. So when people tell me now is not a good time to sell, yeah.
They won't be 5 for very.
Yeah.
6. Today they went up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just not wait for the rates.
Yeah, and every time an agent tells me that, because I hear that a lot often, I've even caught myself saying it. People are always going to need to buy. People are always going to need to sell. Real estate's never going to go out of style. It's about switching that mindset and like realizing that the last 2, 3 years were an absolute anomaly. And if you want to be successful, you are going to require the proper guidance and tools to get you to the goals that you're setting for yourself. So all of my conversations around this, these are great. I just always like to focus on what are your goals? What are you planning on doing next year? Because if you're in business and in real estate and you don't get excited about talking what you're planning to do next and what you're trying to achieve, probably not going to do well at any brokerage they go to. But if you call somebody and say, what's your goal for next year? And they say, oh man, this year was tough. The sales are down, but next year I want to do 8 million in volume. And this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to focus on listings. As soon as people start telling me that, I'm going to remember their name without having to write it down because they're passionate, they're excited, and it's just a great opportunity to open up that conversation and just connect them with Karen. And Karen always says, and she would say this to the ALC all the time, because recruiting is tough. She would always say this to us is just get them talking about their goals and let me take it from there. Because once I see that they're passionate, once I see them open up about it, the rest of it flows so naturally. Because it's like, oh, you want to do this? Well, that's perfectly in line with what we're offering now with this and what we're doing for our agents with this, for this, for this. And it just makes the process so much easier.
Like the EXP smartly.
Yeah.
I don't know the actual formula, but how do you justify saying 7? We're still, you're doing that 20 to 30%, but on average, because you're capping at the cap point from there to say the 7 million at 5 million, to me, brings our percentage down.
Yeah.
Is there a formula there that I don't know about?
So, I mean, I'm sure there's a formula. And when you look at it at that scale, it makes sense to us because we look at the numbers and we know what it's going to do for us once we are capped. I find that a lot of the agents who are at these brokerages that are doing like these low fees, like an Iron Valley or a SmartWay, yeah, those are the big ones. I stay away from that conversation because the moment I start diving into it, I'm in over my head because I don't know the full financials. I don't know their financials and I don't know their goals.
Don't need to ask about commission structure. Say, well,
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I wouldn't say it's wrong. It's just another way of going about it. I like to, when that conversation comes up, I instantly redirect it to, yeah, well, let's not talk about fees because that's not what's important. How much money do you want to make next year?
Yeah. Training.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the probably hardest part of it is,
I still stay here.
yeah, yeah, it's still a lot, but
So being here because I knew.
Yep.
And have the proper education and help.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, Iron Valley has reached out. Yeah. There's no such thing as free lunch is a line I've used a lot too. I was like, money is only a topic of conversation in the absence of value. Like high fees, concerns about fees is only a conversation that comes up in the absence of value. And when people do bring that up to me, I'm so quick to simply just get right to the point and flip it around. That's it. I'm like, this is a cost of me doing business? And we're having this conversation because you just complimented me on the way I run my business. And I just told you about potentially setting up a conversation with my team leader. And you told me, oh, I'm never going to pay my broker that much money. But the whole conversation stemmed from you complimenting me for how well I run things. How do you think I did that? Because it didn't just come out of thin air. I had support and help to get me there. And to me, it was worth every penny. So if you want to have conversations about fees, structures, splits, whatever, I'd suggest you talk to my team leader and see what you can do to get you where you want to go to hit the goals you just told me about for 2025. So for me, it's always just redirecting that conversation. Karen will tell you the same thing. You talk to anybody who does really well with profit share, and it's about staying away from that conversation and just getting Karen that appointment, because she's on a call with team leaders all around the country every week on Monday, having that exact script conversation in the form of a role play to really fine tune her skill in managing that. Because, you know, to us, it's just like, that's the cost of doing business. That's why I'm able to do what I do. To them, it's like, that's all they see. It's just this big black dot, and they're completely unaware of all the benefits that come with the money that we end up paying. Exactly. They think that's what it is, and they have no idea that, you know, if you have so many agents joining, you have a #1 real estate company in the world. People aren't just joining us just because we're the #1 real estate company in the world or because of the brand or the name. There's other reasons, and it's up to you to find out what those reasons are by sitting down with my team leader and having a conversation, because it sounds like you've got really big goals for next year, and I'd love to see you succeed in that so we can continue working together for years to come. You know, I always somehow flip it around, and you know, it's tough. Recruiting is not easy, but that's definitely a solid way to go about it. One last thing that I didn't get to was just social media. Being active on social media, especially within your circle on like Facebook, for example, or Instagram, where you might have a lot of friends or contacts that aren't real estate agents. Staying up to date with your posting, staying active. People will reach out. I have people who reach out, like my old high school teachers will reach out all the time. Kids that I went to high school with will reach out to me and be like, hey, man, you're doing real estate. That's so cool. Sharing other businesses, supporting people. So people from my high school, they start their own businesses, car detailing, painting businesses, contractor businesses, mechanics. Anytime they post something about their business, I make sure to repost it, show my support, because the bottom line is the more active we are in that community, the more people are going to come to us for questions about real estate, which will benefit our individual businesses and also opens up the door for recruiting for K-Score, or if they do get their real estate license, bring them here as well. So my cyberbacker does all my posts. Yeah, I usually just tell her. It's overwhelming, but it was, to me, the pros far outweigh the cons. I have trouble even imagining how I'd be able to now without a VA. I'm sure I could do it, but my business would not look the way it does. Oh yeah. Yep. Completely different. My VA handles operations, so systems, procedures. She wrote an entire operations manual up for me. She writes the email templates for new buyers, so I can reach out. Here are the questions I need you to answer for me. She creates buyer presentations, listing presentations, which explain the settlement and documents that need to be signed before showing what we're going to need. I have not had any pushback on a proof of funds, a pre-approval, a signing of a buyer agency contract since I implemented all of that. And that stress being eliminated because of the help of my cyberbacker has already just been a major weight off my shoulders. Understandable. Yeah, my business definitely hit a bit of a lull for the first 2 months of my cyberbacker because I felt like I was hyper focused on teaching her what she needed to know to do the things I needed to do. Yeah. I recorded videos for everything. You know, she goes so far, she prepares if she's working, because she only works 9 to 1. So oftentimes she doesn't even get a chance to. But if I show a house at 7 p.m., hey, I'm going to write that offer up for you. We'll get it out to you tomorrow. I have my cyberbacker write it up first thing in the morning. And then I just put it in the envelope, review all the details. They can't send it out, but I can do it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's got her admin access into the MLS. Yeah. Only problem now is with command, because like I'm sure you've seen with the TCs and the codes and the two-step verification, that's been annoying me for like the last 2 weeks, but I know KWRI is working out a solution for that because that's been frustrating. But I would say the biggest things my cyberbacker does for me are my social media, which is the thing she likes to do the least. She likes to input listings into the MLS. That's her primary thing. So I have my tablet with the MLS input form. I go to the house, I write out the measurements, I check off all the boxes for all the details, and then I just save as a PDF and send to her. And by the end of the day, it's in the MLS ready to go. I just review everything before I hit publish, you know? So I'm still in control of all those things. And it took me a while to get there because early on it was like triple checking everything and feeling really nervous. But now I feel very confident in her abilities, and she's been a massive help.
Is that the same group that Cassie's using?
I'm not sure who she's using. Is she using Cyberbacker?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cyberbacker. Highly would recommend. If you have any questions on that, reach out to me. They also have an incentive for referrals. So I have been able to bring my bill down from like 800 for the part-time Cyberbacker to like 755. And if you have any questions, I will answer them for you. And perhaps maybe I can get another person in on it because you can lower your bill as well by referring them business. Yeah, and you know, and that's the
But they
thing.
know our system.
Correct. They know command, they'll know those things, but they're not going to know how you run your business individually. And for me, it was been like a 1.5 year long process. We're constantly fine tuning it and changing her tasks. I didn't get too caught up on it. They were like, what do you want? I was like, I want a listings manager. And 2 months in, she was doing all my social media instead. Just like, I'm going to ask you to do what I need the most. And if that's something that's going to make you extremely unhappy and you're not going to be good at doing it, just tell me and we'll work out a different solution. But she's been so eager to learn. I feel like I did get lucky. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, because you can.
Birthdays and do all that stuff. I would love for somebody else to do that.
Yeah.
I get all fired up and start doing it, and then I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. Leverage. You eliminate the things that aren't bringing you more business. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you to anybody that attended on Zoom.
Yeah.
So much. Thanks so much for hopping on. I don't know if anybody else. No, I don't think so. Cool.